When you step up to do pull-ups, the first thing you have to consider is how you hold the bar. The best option is to use whatever grip seems the most natural to you. Most athletes use an overhand grip, with their palms facing away from them. Some prefer an underhand grip with the palms opposite the face. Experiment and discover what seems most natural, whichever has the best groove for your body type. When you perform pulling motions, many athletes find their hands tend to pronate, which just means that the palms want to turn away from your body a little. You might be able to feel this if you try close grip pull-ups with an underhand grip. The closer you pull, the more you feel your thumbs want to turn towards you. This effect means that one of the best grips for more advanced pull-ups involves a slight angle. So see if you can find a cambered pull-up bar, or even a station that allows you to perform pull-ups with a hammer grip, which means the palms face each other. Using hanging rings is also a great option because it allows the hands to pronate freely. But be aware that hanging rings require a lot of extra strength because you need to stabilize their movement. The bottom line, get doing pull-ups and experiment. Use what works for you, even if it's different for each exercise. Many athletes begin their pull-ups from the bottom, like this. In convict conditioning, you're advised to begin your set from the top position with your chin over the bar, like so. This method improves performance, especially at the beginning of a set. Try it for yourself. Pick a hard pull-up variation, one that you can barely do a few reps with. If you begin in the hanging position, you'll often find that it's a real struggle to pull yourself up. But if you start with your chin already over the bar, then lower yourself, you'll find it much easier to pull yourself back up. It's as if descending from the top is like compressing a spring. You go all the way down and bang, you have the energy to snap back up. This works because the act of holding your body weight at the top, then descending, radically increases neurological recruitment, which helps you find the strength to get back up. You'll notice this technique is particularly helpful later on when you're working more advanced types of pull-ups. So get into this habit from day one. It doesn't matter if you have to stand on a chair or jump up to the bar, but always start your set from the top position. When you perform any compound calisthenics exercise with your arms, like pull-ups, it's really important to keep your shoulders tight. What does this mean? It means pulling the tops of your shoulders, the sockets, into your torso and keeping them there. This isn't a huge movement. When your arms are out, just tighten your back and lats to pull your shoulders down an inch or two. This is a fundamental strength drill to learn. Your shoulders consist of ball and socket joints. Unlike hinge joints, like your knees, or gliding joints, like your wrists, your shoulders aren't structurally locked into place. They're only held into place by a complex network of ligaments and soft tissue. Some athletes and bodybuilders like to fully extend their shoulders when they straighten their arms under load, almost like they are stretching their shoulders out. This is a mistake. When you do pull-ups or lift heavy weights and allow your shoulders to stretch out under load, you increase the chance of dislocation and risk irritating or injuring the soft tissue and tendons holding the shoulder in place. When you keep your shoulders down tight, the delicate joint becomes automatically stabilized and protected by a thick corset of muscle. So keep your shoulders tight when you train, especially during pull-ups. Often you hear about athletes performing straight arm or long arm pull-ups, meaning that they descend all the way until their arms are straight. Although you should perform most of your pull-ups using a full range of motion, when you hear that your arms should be straight, that doesn't mean that the elbows are locked. Locking your elbows under a heavy load can cause the joints to pinch. leading to soft tissue irritation or even the chance of hyperextension of the joint. This is just as true for pull-ups as it is for push-ups. So, at the bottom of a pull-up, straighten your arms, but always leave a slight kink at your elbows. Don't fully extend like this. Always leave a little bend like this. This trick is called keeping your elbows soft. It retains muscular tension in the arms and will protect your joints over the long term. But don't use this as an excuse to only use half a range of motion during exercises that are a full range of motion. A very slight kink is all you need. There are very few isolation exercises in proper bodyweight strength training. True strength requires the whole body to some degree. The body is a chain, a system. So you should work your entire body in some way with every single movement you do. The same is true for pull-ups. Even though pull-ups are mainly an upper body exercise, focusing on the arms and back, the whole body needs to be moved, so the waist and legs need to find a place too. Because the midsection supports the waist, many novices get sore abs from pull-ups, because most people aren't used to holding the legs off the ground in everyday life. So when performing pull-ups, don't just look at what your hands and arms are doing. Take your lower body posture seriously too. Ideally, keep everything tight, stomach, hips and legs. You'll begin noticing how important this is during the first 3 pull-up steps, where some of the body's weight is passing through the spine and lower body. Once you're performing the hanging exercises, keeping the legs together and the ankles looped behind you is a great way to keep your lower body locked into position. This not only keeps your entire body braced as a system, it also goes a long way to eliminate cheating. From your first proper pull-up, learn how to set your legs correctly. There are a lot of opinions on just how high you should lift your body during pull-ups. Some people say lift until your chest touches the bar, until your eyes go over the bar, or whatever. The best indicator, and the one most often used in prison training, is the chin. When your chin passes over the bar, you've performed a rep, like this. Anything less and the muscles aren't worked to the full range. Pulling even higher until the chest or even the sternum touch the bar is harder, but it limits your ultimate strength potential because it shifts the focus of the exercise from the stronger lateral muscles to the smaller mid-back muscles. You don't need to go this high. Getting your jaw over the bar is perfect. One way to make pull-ups a lot easier is to throw the knees up during a rep. This is called kipping. Let's show you an example. This is a pull-up without kipping. Watch the legs. Now watch a pull-up with a kip to see the difference in form. Again, watch the legs. Kipping generates momentum in the lower body, which translates into less pulling force through the arms. Kipping isn't necessarily the same as cheating. Kipping is a tool to be used very carefully. It's always a good idea that beginners to combat conditioning, or calisthenics generally, avoid kipping as much as possible. During the early stages of training, strict form is necessary to build muscle, hardwire good technique into your nervous system, and protect unprepared joints from jarring forces. But as you become more advanced, it's permissible to use kipping under certain circumstances. Once you're working on step 5, full pull-ups, you can begin to add some kipping reps to the end of a set of strict pull-ups when you can't perform pull-ups strictly anymore. At this stage, kipping should be done to make the set harder, not easier. For at least the first 7 steps of the series, you shouldn't count any of your kipping reps towards your progression standard. Once you're at step 8, half one-arm pull-ups, you can throw some kipping into your technique to allow you to perform the most difficult exercises. In order to work their torso muscles to the max, a lot of strength athletes and bodybuilders feel the need to keep their elbows jammed out to the side when working out. You commonly see this with bench presses and shoulder presses, but it's something you sometimes see with pull-ups too. Some very strong bodybuilders go so far as to pull themselves up so the napes of their neck touch the bar before they descend. This really forces the elbows out. It's a lot like the opposite version of a press behind neck, where you pull down instead of pushing up. The theory behind flaring your shoulders out is that the exaggerated position forces extra pressure into the shoulders and torso muscles. The reality is different. Pushing your elbows out is unnatural to the body. You protect your joints more and generate more strength when your shoulders are in a neutral position, not necessarily next to the torso, but certainly not jammed out to the side. This is a subject that's covered in depth in Chapter 10 of the Convict Conditioning Manual. The take-home message is that during pull-ups, you should allow your elbows to go where they want. This will probably be fairly close to your body, with your elbows pointing out front or diagonal. This kind of position is more natural. When you are doing any pulling or pushing movement, don't force your elbows out to the side. Allow them to go where they naturally want to go, which will be closer to the torso. Every exercise has its own unique pattern of movement and cessation of movement. Moving the body weight through space is an ideal way to build muscle and power, but holding your position briefly is a good way to increase static strength. In all pull-up movements, you're stronger at the top position with your chin over the bar. This is what a top hold looks like. All your pulling muscles are contracted here, so it makes sense to pause for a 1 count. You don't need to squeeze, tense, or perform any other artificial nonsense like that. Just hold at the top and your body will do the rest. The bottom position of the pull-up with straight arms is the hardest. Your muscles are always at their weakest when extended, as any wrestler will tell you. So when you reach the bottom of a rep, make sure you don't bounce and that all the momentum is gone from your motion. But don't get into the habit of just hanging there. All this will do is drain your energy and make the next rep harder. Hold for a 1 count at the top and only pause for a split second to reverse your direction at the bottom of all your pull-ups. This last commandment is not about pull-up technique. It's just a fact of reality all pull-up guys have to face at some point. Some strength athletes can be pretty fat, carrying 30, 50, or even more excess pounds of body weight. In some cases, these guys could move pretty heavy weights, but they'd still be better athletes, faster and stronger at lighter weights. Bulking up is not something a calisthenics master wants or needs to do. This is most easy to see when you look at an exercise like pull-ups. Excess body weight is a total drag and devastates your performance levels. You can learn to do a 1-leg squat if you are carrying extra weight, and maybe even a 1-arm push-up. But if you are fat and want to become great at pull-ups, you can forget it. This is because during pull-ups, your body has to lift its entire weight. Every extra pound has to come along for the ride. As a result, if you're overweight, training alone is not enough to get you to a high level in the pull-up movement. Training and fat loss methods have to go hand in hand. Even losing just 10 pounds of blubber will make a big difference to your performance, not just in pull-up workouts, but for all your bodyweight exercises. Pay attention to those scales.